Hope Channel, changing lives. Hope Channel, changing lives.
Two cases of Lassa fever. I'm sure it might have been troubling for a lot of people. And we might not have finished dealing with COVID and all the other illnesses, and now we have to deal with Lassa fever. But a few days after, the numbers went up from 2 to 14, and there might even be more. What is Lassa fever? Tonight, we're going to demystify Lassa fever. We're going to tell you everything you need to know about Lassa fever. And with me in the studio, I have two experts. They know so much about Lassa fever, and they're going to be educating us tonight. So with me in the studio tonight, I have Dr. Emmanuel Adipa Adapo, who is a medical officer. Doc, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us. And then also we have Dr. Ebenezer Owusu Reku, who is also a medical officer. Thank you so much for joining us, Doc. So as I said, they're going to tell us all we need to know about Lassa fever, and we're going to dive right into the conversation. So as we have this conversation, if you have any questions or comments to make, you can send it via our social media platforms on Facebook, on YouTube, also on WhatsApp, and we'll be happy to hear from you. So I'll start with Dr. Adipa Adapo. What is Lassa fever?
Well, Lassa fever or Lassa fever virus disease is a disease that we will say we can classify it among the viral hemorrhagic fevers, meaning that it is a virus that causes you to bleed before you die or before you recover. Okay. It may lead to certain complications, first of all, like shock and eventually death. It is a virus that belongs to the group of viruses.
Doc, I'm sorry. Like, we need you to go like very, very basic, right? So well, shock. What's a shock?
Well, shock. Many people, define shock as a surprise. Something that hits you unknowingly. Yeah. But we will define shock as the inability of the heart to function well in relation to how perfusion occurs or how blood is distributed into the body to carry oxygen to the tissues. Okay. And therefore, we say you are in shock if perfusion is inadequate. Blood doesn't flow adequately to deliver oxygen to the tissues of the body. Okay. Yeah. So that is the result of the Lassa fever infection, and it's a virus, like I said, which belongs to the group of viruses known as the arena virus. Okay. Okay. It's the family of arena viruses. Now, when it infects you through, first of all, the primary source of infection is the mouse or the rat. We call this group of rats the multi-mammate rats, or the Mastomys natalensis, as the scientific name implies. So if you have rats in your home, and some people actually eat rats, bushmeat, as a source of food. Now, this virus lives amicably or lives naturally in the mouse. The mouse will never get sick by hosting the virus.
Okay.
But if you, the human being, invade the territory of the mouse and you get infected through the urine or the stool of the mouse, then you become infected with this virus, and then it can lead to all these complications that I have talked about.
Okay. So is it a new thing?
No, actually, Lassa fever is endemic in West Africa.
Okay.
Countries like Nigeria, it's just like we report malaria here. In countries like Sierra Leone, Liberia, in Guinea, for instance, they report Lassa fever on daily basis.
Yeah.
So now I will say that it is endemic in those countries, and many people survive it. But we reported our first case in 2011, as I can recall.
Okay.
And therefore I will say that it is now that Ghana is grappling with the epidemic, and it's on the rise. It's more than 14 as of now.
Okay.
The cases, and we have 1 death already.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Dr. Rick, who is at risk of this Lassa fever?
All right, so everybody is at risk of getting Lassa fever.
Okay.
Just like my colleague said, it is endemic in certain countries, Liberia, Sierra Leone. Over there, when you go to the hospital, Lassa fever is like malaria in Ghana. It is very endemic. So everybody is at risk. You can easily get it. Annually, we have 100,000 to 300,000 getting it.
Okay.
Every year, we have 100,000 to 300,000 getting it, and we have about 5,000 deaths. So anybody at all can get it. The route of transmission, how you get it, is through ingestion or inhalation. That is, if you eat any food contaminated. The Mastomys natalensis, as he said, the rats, it's very difficult to determine a rat from a mouse. People just, people eat them anyhow. So if you eat them and then they have the virus in them, then you stand the risk of getting them. Or if you inhale in aerosols. So in our various homes, if you have a rat in your house and then the rat has the Lassa fever and then the rat pees, let's say on the floor, then you are sweeping. So per the research, WHO says that people usually get it when they are sweeping their homes.
Yes.
Okay.
So when you are sweeping, you just pick up the viruses, they just get into the air. Then you also inhale everything inside. Once you inhale it, you get it.
Okay.
So everybody is at risk of getting it. Once a person has Lassa fever, the person can also transmit it. It's from person to person.
Yeah.
But it's not skin contact.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just not skin contact. Body fluids. So if I come in contact with you and then you have a cut on your skin and then it gets in there, that is when you can get it.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
Body fluids. So if it's not body fluids and it's just skin to skin contact or intact skin, there is no way you are going to get it. So anybody at all can get Lassa fever.
So any type of body fluid, sweat, saliva, blood, all of those?
Yes, all the body fluids.
Okay.
It is even reported that after people recover, especially men, it can exist in the sperm for 1 year. So there is the likelihood of sexual transmission from the man to his wife.
Okay.
And one interesting fact is that the Mastomys natalensis, the rats, once they get a virus, it stays in them till they die.
Till they die, yes. For the rest of their lives.
It stays in them till they die. So they can just keep on giving infecting people. And then we have rats in our, if you don't sweep your house well, if you don't clean your house well, or if you don't store food properly. So let's say you have maize and don't store it well. They will just come and eat them and then infest. Yeah. So you go in, pick the maize, you want to make some banku or something, and then you get the disease from there.
This is very dangerous, right? Because
very dangerous.
we are buying kinki and banku from outside.
Yes,
yeah,
we don't know where they are coming from.
And we dry a lot of food items.
Yeah.
We prepare our kokonte, for instance, by peeling the cassava and just drying it in the sun and leaving it overnight. If you have mice in the house that are infected with the Lassa fever, they come and walk on it and deposit the Lassa fever virus. You come and pick it the next day, or even your plate in which you eat. If you don't, wash the plate well, you don't heat them, you don't microwave your food, your leftover food, a mouse may have come to walk on it and deposited the Lassa fever, and those are the sources of infection. So everybody, children, and you see our children play on the floor, they are most at risk of the Lassa fever infection.
Yeah. So what symptoms or what signs would I pick up from someone who has Lassa fever? What would I see in them?
Well, 80% of people, for instance, or even up to 90%, will go through it asymptomatic.
Okay.
Some people may have mild symptoms like we normally have when we get malaria. Your normal headache, your fever. The fever may be slight, just above 37 degrees, maybe 37.5, seldom getting to 38 degrees. And weakness, general body weakness, joint pain sometimes, a cough. So people don't, it is not, if you don't have a high index of suspicion, these symptoms may fit into any of the differential diagnosis.
And then other things that can help you to know that we are dealing with Lassa fever is deafness.
Yes.
It is one of the common causes of deafness. It's a
sudden
complication.
Hearing loss.
You can't hear anything at all. And then even in people with mild cases, I mean the 80% who have mild cases, they tend to get deafness a lot.
Exactly.
So somebody hears today, and then the next time the person cannot hear
anything. That he's not hearing clearly.
Some people also tend to get headaches. Some people also tend to get back pain, chest pain and back pain. So they have a chest pain and they tell you that it is radiating to my back. I mean, you may think of my cardiac infarction. You wouldn't even think of Lassa fever. Yes. So those are also signs and symptoms.
But with the deafness, is it reversible?
It is not reversible in some people, but in some cases it's reversible. But in most people, it's not reversible.
Wow.
It becomes permanent.
So 25% of the cases that get Lassa fever will progress into deafness. And half of that 25%, it is reversible. And half of that will be permanent.
Yeah.
Wow. That's scary. But how long after exposure to the rat or the virus would you expect to see the symptoms or signs? Dr. Reku.
All right. So incubation period is usually 2 to 21 days. 2 to 21 days. So if I get infected right now, maybe within 2 days, you start having your chills, your headache, and then general malaise. I don't feel too good. And in our part of the world, our problem is that the person will go to the pharmacy shop and buy malaria drugs instead of reporting to the hospital. So I don't feel too good, and then get malaria drug, still not improving. By the time it's 2-3 weeks, then danger will zoom in. So within 2 to 21 days, you start getting signs and symptoms.
Okay. So how do I test for it?
Well, there are so many ways of testing for the Lassa fever. In the very early days, the gold standard is the PCR testing, where we have Noguchi, for instance, that is doing that for us as of now. They will isolate the RNA of the virus and tell us that we have seen it in the person, so it is positive. There are ways also like the ELISA, we call it the rapid diagnosis testing, which may pick up the presence of the antibody of the virus or the antigen, as the case may be, of the virus. Now, if we pick antibodies of the virus, if we pick the IgM, it means that the virus may still be present. It is still in the acute stage. But if we pick the IgG, you may have even recovered. So even though it is significant, it might not help with management. Now, we may also, so that is the antemortem in the living person. These are the ways we get it. We may have skipped the detection and the person may have died. And then we take samples for post-mortem, which we can also use the PCR, or we can do a histologic diagnosis at post-mortem, where the pathologist looks at the cells under the microscope and isolates the virus and tells us that, okay, the person died as a result of Lassa fever.
Just do immunochemistry.
Yes, immunohistochemistry.
Okay.
And all that.
These are all very technical things. Yeah, very technical things. Yes. But you mentioned the rapid diagnostic testing, right? Can I just go into a pharmacy and buy it and test, or it has to still be a Noguchi?
Oh, currently it's difficult to go to the pharmacy shop and tell them I want LDT for this.
Yeah.
It's not common.
Okay.
It's not common, but I think the government will work on it, and then just like COVID started, and then yes, we started having the LDTs and all that, we'll surely get them.
Okay.
But I want to assure the public that since it's an epidemic now, if you have those symptoms, just come to a hospital. If we have a high index of suspicion, for instance, you have been exposed to somebody you feel, or somebody has died suddenly in the family or so, and you may have suspected the Lassa fever infection. When you come to the hospital and a sample is taken, all hospitals have activated their rapid response teams.
Yeah.
A sample will be taken quickly. The Ghana Health Service has empowered Noguchi Memorial Institute to do the tests quickly within 48 hours. Results will be ready. And then if it is negative, you know that, well, then that is not Lassa fever.
Yes.
Instead of waiting, not knowing what to do, not knowing where to go, buying paracetamol to mask your symptoms.
Yeah.
It may be too late when you come. People come and they start bleeding from all the orifices, from the eyes, the ears, the nose, the mouth, and even the other private parts. And you would have realized too late that it was Lassa fever all along.
Yeah. So, okay, now that you mentioned the bleeding, when you start bleeding, does that mean you are going to die inevitably? Is that what it means?
Not really. I mean, there is treatment for Lassa fever.
Yeah.
The ribavirin is
It's
an
available.
antiviral drug. It's available now. So there is treatment for it. So the fact that you are bleeding or you're having complications doesn't mean that you are going to die.
Okay.
I mean, the early stages, we talk about early stages because early stages, you can save the person without the person getting any complication at all. Once the person starts getting multi-organ failure, it becomes a little bit difficult.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So we just want to prevent that. But the fact that the person has gotten there doesn't mean we can't salvage the situation. So the early stages, we have supportive treatment that you can give to the person. A lot of IV hydration. The person has to take a lot of fluids and supportive care. If the person has any comorbid conditions, the person has hypertension, diabetes, and all that, you try as much as possible to manage all of those. So early stages really help. But if a person progresses from the early stages to a stage where the person is having complications, that is not a death sentence.
Okay.
We have treatment for that.
Okay, but you mentioned Noguchi. Noguchi is in Accra, right? So for people who are outside Accra and like other regions, the northern regions and like those very far away from Accra, how can they get tested?
Yes, so the centers that were helping with COVID management, for instance, in the northern sector, we have the Kintampo Research Center. In Kumasi, we have the KCCR. Even in Accra, we also have the Public Health Reference Laboratory in Kolebu, who are all helping. The Center for Scientific Research into Plant Medicine has also been empowered to do some of these tests. Tamale Teaching Hospital Laboratory is also equipped enough to do that. Greater Accra, for instance, the Greater Accra Regional Hospital has the PCR kit to do that. We only need to get the cartridges to be able to start doing that. So as we go along and the disease progresses, we hope to nip it in the bud. And that's why we are doing these education for the public to be aware, so that we can contain it as early as possible. But if we should be overwhelmed, then many of these labs are going to be equipped by the public health institutions to carry out these tests.
Okay. So Dr. Riku, you mentioned that there's a treatment for it, the ribavirin. But is there a vaccination we can get against it?
Currently, no. So the WHO, World Health Organization, is working on a vaccine. Other scientists are working on a vaccine, but currently we don't have any vaccine for it.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure with time we'll get a vaccine for it, and then it wouldn't be a problem.
Okay. But even before we get to the treatment, how do we prevent it?
So the prevention is just by doing the opposite of all the things that cause it. Yes. So especially cleanliness. We just have to clean our places, our place of abode. So your homes and everywhere, just have to make sure that the places are cleaned, because the rats love places that are dirty. and then places that are quiet. So if you make sure that your place is clean, there is no way, and then if you are storing food, you have to store them properly. All those tiny bits are very important.
Yeah.
And if you know somebody who has Lassa fever, or somebody who has come in contact with such a condition, just like he said, somebody who died recently, somebody who has had sudden deafness and all that, you alert the health officials, and those people too, you don't get close to them because you can be at risk of getting it. There are some instances where somebody gets it, and then we've had a case, somebody guesses and the person went to a prayer camp and all that. The person came in, it was a little bit too late. I mean, some of these things, just like we said, we just have to try as much as possible and nip it in the bud. Yeah. Instead of it spreading. People have traveled a lot. Because of the holidays, people traveled a lot. So we are thinking, we have cases here in Kumasi, we have Kintampo and all that, but we don't want the disease to spread throughout the whole of Ghana. And then when it does that, containment will be a little bit difficult. Yeah. We don't want to get to the stage where we will say there will be total lockdown or partial lockdown, anything like that. Yeah.
So I will put the prevention into physical, chemical, and biological. Okay. Now, physically, like I said, let's do the things that John Wesley called the cleanliness is next to godliness mantra. Now, physically, cover your food or warm leftover food. It doesn't take any scientific approach to do that, right? Now, chemically, let's try and deratify the homes. If you know you have rats in the home, try and buy some, sprays that will be able to get them away. That is the chemical aspect. Or we have the Kwakwela stop things that traps the mice. Or physically also, you can use the normal mouse traps to trap the mice and get rid of them. And chemically, that's what I've spoken about. You can spray the gutters and spray areas that the mice have their tracks to come to contact with the food items and other things. Biologically, many people do not know that we have a friend in the cat. So you keep a cat at home if you know you have mice in the house. They biologically will get rid of the mice for you very quickly, and they will not all be infected.
They won't die.
They won't die. Now, also, we are in a Bible studio, a Christian studio. God had a reason for telling us not to eat certain animals. Right? Because of some of these things that we are likely to get if we feed on them. Yeah. So, as I am here in this studio, I'll appeal that this is the time. We are in an epidemic of Lassa fever. We know the primary source of infection being the rat. So those of us who enjoy it as a delicacy, it is time to take a break.
Hold on a little bit
until we get out of this epidemic, and then you can go back. Now, we also need to alert our hunters who go into the forest hunting for these rats, or our farmers who like to, people, once they see a rat hole, they know that there's a rat here, and they quickly set fire and all that. The way we handle the rats, the cutlasses we use to kill them and all that, once you have a cut and it is bleeding, you hack the rat and it is bleeding, be careful you are in a protective equipment, like a glove, a boot, so that you do not get into contact with these excreta and urine of the rats.
And then to add to the prevention, in our hospitals, our various hospitals, so we just have to enforce the use of wearing of masks and then gloves. It's personal protective equipment. There is a time for us to use them. So PPEs must be available to all health personnel. And then the prevention techniques that we all know, we should just make sure we use them a lot. Washing of hands and all that. They are very, very important. They are basic, but they are very important.
Very important.
Basic, but very important. Washing of hands, wearing of mask, wearing of gloves. You don't know the patient that you're going to attend to. So any patient that you attend to, you make sure that you are protected enough.
Are we going back to putting on masks in public?
We are in the time. We never left, actually. We never left, because even this season, you realize that we are in the flu season. There are many other flu viruses that are in the system. And therefore, if you have a cold, you are coughing, you need to put on the mask. If you are coming into a hospital premise, you need to be in the mask, especially pregnant women. Please be in the mask, because one of the complications of Lassa.
I'll just pause you there. We'll go for a quick commercial break. When we get back, we'll continue with this conversation. Please stay tuned.
Frel akai will say March ni day ye dubaako a Hope Channel a da ye ba for ya mano. Hope Channel a Seventh Day Adventist ye television a dear Hope Channel a ye pa ni say or Giakra or Kenyam sem utukwan a komia ya hodoa a nipa hiya Yesu na oma mo frampo a ye programs a hodo se beya mo freni beji Yesu ho. Obetumi aye dodo achense nanso ohia wo mo a entime srew March 11 ma wo remfi aye Hope Channel Donation Day aye de mmoa sika ebre Hope Channel e won sori ni nyina mu me pa achewo ye bi fesika bra fa beboa Hope Channel no nji akra no nsiesie akra emma Yesu maye erade nhiraw so obeye ne sa onka wo ho ne nsiwye e wo Yesu din. Amen.
Hope Channel Day is Saturday, 11th March. We bring you real angels, real people, and real stories. Live at 7 p.m. on Saturday, 11th March. Only on Hope Channel Ghana. You do not want to miss it.
Welcome back from the commercial break. I believe you're enjoying this conversation. We would like to hear from you, so you can send in your questions and your comments, and then we'll be very happy to answer them. So before we went on the break, we were hearing about the complications, right? Yeah. So now you have the floor.
Okay. So starting again from the pregnant woman, and I mean, that is what is very much on my heart, because at every stage of pregnancy, you know how many people, you know, struggle to get pregnant, and how we attach some form of importance to pregnancy. Lassa fever is able to cause spontaneous abortions in pregnant women at every stage of the pregnancy, even up to the 3rd trimester.
Okay.
It's actually very common in the third trimester.
It's very, very common in the third trimester. So pregnant women, like I was cautioning, should pay particular attention at this time to the infection prevention and control protocols of wearing of the mask when you're getting into public places, you're getting into the hospitals, you are coming for your antenatal services and all that. Now, we have already mentioned some of them, hearing loss, and it can become permanent. And therefore, if you find out that you are beginning to, your hearing is getting diminished, it's time to come to the hospital quickly and let's test you for Lassa fever and also do an audiometry for you to find out. Shock, like we said, bleeding from the orifices is another complication. Multiple organ failure, which may be reversible or may be permanent even if you recover, are some of the complications you can have. So somebody may recover from Lassa fever with a kidney failure, for instance. Somebody may recover from Lassa fever with a liver failure, for instance. Somebody may recover from Lassa fever because of the chest pain that radiates to the back, a symptom that looks like an acute coronary syndrome or a heart attack. It may become permanent actually because of the damage that will happen because of the shock, like we defined. Shock being inadequate supply of oxygen to the tissues or inadequate delivery of oxygen to the tissues. This may result in the permanence of the complications that we have. Well, finally, in medical school, after you have mentioned all the complications, death is the final complication that some of our bosses will give you a bonus mark for.
Some won't take it.
Some won't take it at all. But I mean, you dare not mention death as the first complication. So,
to add to that, he made mention of the multi-organ failure. We have liver, spleen, and kidney, especially the three of them. In this case, had an acute kidney injury, so she was being treated as Steven Johnson's with acute kidney injury. Until she was sent to Kolebu, they did some tests and then realized that it was Lassa fever. So the kidney injury is there, spleen is also there, and then the liver. So those things are very important. And once they get damaged, you know that a person may enter into the last complication in the
world. I'll just stick with you a bit, Dr. Riku. You mentioned aerosols. Does it mean if someone is infected with the virus and they cough, you could get it?
Yes. You can get it. So that is why we are encouraging that people should wear masks. And then currently, as at Friday, there was an upsurge in the cases of COVID. So it's not as if we should stop wearing masks. I mean, Ghanaians have this tendency of, that's why people say that you're fear at the end. When COVID was on the surge, people were wearing masks and all that. Now people don't care. And then if you tell them, I was wearing mask, when was it? This Saturday? No, 4th March. Was it a Saturday? 4th March was Saturday. Yes. I went to the Gobe Festival at Accra Mall, and then I passed through the Watch Summit, which was happening at Jowulu. And I was in a mask. Come and see how people were looking at me. Like I am some alien from a different planet. People do not want to even wear the mask. But aerosol, so you just have to wear the mask. As soon as the person coughs, as soon as the person sneezes, and you come in contact with it, you have it.
And to just out of the infectious disease arena, recently the meteo stations gave us a hint that Accra is very much polluted. These result in respiratory diseases. You know, we call them pneumoconiosis. They are non-communicable sources of infection that affect the lung. It could be this dirty or the pollutants in the atmosphere. A mask comes in handy to save that situation until you come close to a clean area, then you can take it off and breathe well.
As soon as he made mention of the air, I remembered one of the complications, respiratory distress. So people with asthma, this is the time for them to be very cautious. Because respiratory distress is there. person cannot breathe and all that. So you just have to be put on oxygen.
Exactly.
And then there are cases where ambulance services do not even have oxygen. So, I mean, you just have to be on the side of caution. Prevention is better than cure.
Apart from the asthma, people who are smokers, chronic smokers, have a condition we call the chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, COPD. And people may also have lung cancer, for instance. You may be in remission, but these things can trigger a resurgence of the disease, and therefore to prevent it is better than to cure.
So earlier you were mentioning the rats and how it transmits to the humans, and you said those who kill the rats and eat it.
Yes.
But you also mentioned that we should warm our food.
Yes.
And be fine. So I'm just wondering, if you cook the rats, doesn't it kill the virus?
It does kill the virus, but the handling before the cooking.
Okay, that's the problem.
Is the process.
Okay.
Handling before. For instance, people hack it, right? When it comes out of the hole, people hack it, and the blood, spreads. The blood can splash into your wound. It can splash into your eyes. It can splash into your nose, your mouth. The blood may be on the cutlass or whatever tool you use to hack it, and another person picks it up to go into another episode or escapade of hunting. All these are sources of infection. But the cooking process will eventually kill it. But the process leading to that would have, predisposed you to an infection.
And then in our homes and in places where we buy food, we have plates that are stored overnight. The rats will just pass on the plates and all that. So people sell food. Instead of them maybe washing the plate again, they will just use a tissue to wipe it. You haven't wiped anything. If the rat has peed on the plate, it's there.
No, even the wiping will rather spread it nicely.
Nicely distributed. So you are going to really enjoy
it. You will evenly distribute it to areas that it never used to be.
So it's very important that, just like I said, hand washing. Washing is very important. Just use soap and then wash it. And the use of sanitizers. People have stopped using sanitizers. This is the time for us to go back to it. And the prices are cheaper as compared to
yes, that's true. So I'm a lay person. I don't know how to protect myself. There's someone at home who I suspect has Lassa fever and I want to take the person to the hospital. How should I protect myself when taking the person to the hospital?
So we've made mention of some of the PPEs. Try as much as possible to get gloves and then get a nose mask. I would even encourage that you call an ambulance service. And now we have a lot of ambulance around, a lot of cars around. So you just call an ambulance service. And then they will come there, and then they know what to do. Because you don't know what to do, they know what to do. So it is easier that way, but just put on your gloves and then, you may help the person, carry the person from the room to the ambulance. Or you may try as much as possible to help the ambulance people. So just get your gloves and then your nose mask. Okay.
And it's spreading. What are some of the challenges we might be facing in this outbreak?
Well, the inadequate supply of PPE at the various hospitals is a major challenge. So I'm using this opportunity to appeal once again to the corporate organizations that may be watching, religious organizations who helped in the COVID management, to once again think of selecting or adopting some treatment centers and supplying them with these PPE because of the insurgence of this virus. And even like I said, COVID is also increasing now, so there might come a time that we might reopen the treatment centers for these ones as well. Now, the other challenge we are having is the inability for us to bring back people to voluntarily wear the mask in public because they feel that COVID is no longer killing as it used to. But Lassa fever, I'll say, is a cousin to Marburg and Ebola. So, the devastation it causes might be worse than COVID.
Yeah.
So if it does not spread like COVID does, but once you get it, the death rate in an epidemic is close to 50%. That makes it more dangerous, even though the spread is not, not many people are prone. When you are not close to the area, you are not, it is not going to travel to come to you until you are close to the person. And therefore, but you cannot say you are sitting unconcerned. And therefore, this is the time event organizers bring back the Veronica buckets.
Yeah.
And schools bring back the Veronica buckets to sensitize students to wash their hands, to sanitize their hands. And parents, please put hand sanitizers in the bag of your children. Teach them to sanitize their hands periodically when they touch doorknobs, when they touch seats, when they use the lavatory and they are coming back, when they go to the washroom and they are coming back out. If there's no water available, the hand sanitizer comes in handy to help, prevent infections of some of these diseases.
Yeah, but specifically for Lassa fever, does the sanitizer destroy the virus?
Yes,
it does.
Because it does. It is an RNA virus. That is why we encourage that the hand sanitizer that you use should contain not less than 70% alcohol. It is very effective in killing many of the viruses and bacteria.
Right. So you probably didn't survive Lassa fever, you've died. During COVID, when they die with COVID, they don't allow for a general funeral, right? Yes. Is it the same with Lassa fever?
It's the same. In fact, this one, there is even a bigger emphasis.
Yes.
Because the body is still infectious.
Yeah.
The bleeding, the person may have bled before dying. So washing and all those things will be done under supervision from the metropolitan authorities. They have health departments that do that. And because of the nature of the infection and its repercussions on the environment, if the body is not well disposed, there should be a dignified burial, but it will be under supervision.
So it's just like any of these viral hemorrhagic diseases, the Ebolas and all that.
Okay.
So once a person dies, the person can still transmit the disease. So if a person dies, the burial is really, really supervised. Yeah.
Right. Thank you so much. I've learned a lot today. I believe the viewers have also learned a lot. I don't know if you have any final words for our viewers. We'll start with Dr. Adipo.
Well, finally, we are here once again with another epidemic, and but let us come together to surmount it, because we are known, our public health system is robust, and the way we handle COVID in collaboration with the general public, I believe if we do same, we'll be able to surmount this one as well. What I'll advise is prevention has always been better than cure. Let us keep the infection prevention and control protocols handy.
Yeah.
I have a mnemonic, right? Men or women avoid touching men, right? Women, the W is wear your mask.
Okay.
The O is observe the social distancing. The M is, masking up. The A is avoid crowded places. Then the N is never touch an infected surface. Then avoid touching your mouth, your eyes, and your nose. So women avoid touching men in the prevention of this viral hemorrhagic fever.
Right.
And any other communicable disease.
Yeah. Dr. Riku, final words.
So we are here to demystify Lassa fever. Lassa fever is not a death sentence. We tend to have this notion that once a person has a condition, people just stay away from the person. The stigma.
Yeah.
If a person has Lassa fever, the person has contracted Lassa fever, it's not a death sentence, number one. Number two, it doesn't mean that the person is not a human being anymore. So the stigma should go away, because anybody at all can get it. And then 80% have mild cases. it doesn't end in death automatically. So we just have to try as much as possible to know that even if I get Lassa fever, I may not die. I just have to make sure that I stay, I live. So the things that you're supposed to do, you do them. If you are given medications, you do them. If you're asked to wear a mask, you do it. If you're asked to stay away from crowded places or stay away from family members, just listen.
Yeah.
And then we've been saying it, protection is the ultimate. Let's protect ourselves. Let's wear the mask. Let's wear the gloves. Let's make sure that we use sanitizers. Let's wash our hands very well. And you demystify Lassa fever. Right.
Thank you so much. Thank you for joining us today. We've learned a lot from you. We really appreciate it. Viewers out there, I believe you've learned a lot, and I don't think Lassa fever should take anyone by surprise anymore. Let's protect ourselves. Prevention is better than cure. We've heard it all. Let's wash our hands, let's wear the mask, and everything will be fine by God's grace. Thank you so much for joining us tonight, and have a good night.